Receive divine protection. Use Saint Benedict's prayer to manifest heavenly deliverance in 7 days. In the heart of a quaint English village, nestled among verdant hills and cobblestone streets, a great tumult stirred. The sun hung low in the sky, its rays casting golden light as the church bell rang loud and clear, calling the faithful to worship. In the midst of it all lived Margaret, a woman of profound faith, beloved by all. But darkness loomed over her household. A mysterious illness reigned, a sickness that baffled doctors and swept through her family like an unyielding storm. As despair wrapped itself around Margaret's heart, she turned toward heaven. "Saint Benedict, guardian of our souls," she cried, her voice resonating with urgency. Her prayers were woven with hope deeper than the roots of an ancient oak. She gathered her family each night, an unbreakable chain of faith, as they begged for mercy. But with each passing day, the light in her children's eyes flickered, dimmed by an illness no remedy could touch. Then a flicker of memory surfaced, a story her grandmother had once told her, of how the sacred prayer of Saint Benedict protected their family through treachery and despair. Inspiration surged through her, igniting her spirit anew. Could it be? Gather the village, she would, to petition heaven together. With renewed fervor, Margaret called her neighbors, hearts beating as one, to the village chapel. As the congregation filled the venerable space, an electric hum filled the air, their collective voices rising like a symphony of faith, each prayer reverberating against the chapel's worn beams. Margaret led them, her heart racing, fear mingling with determination. Yet after fervent cries, silence wrapped itself around them, a palpable weight that threatened to crush their collective hope. Margaret's hope began to wane, doubt creeping in like a thief stalking through shadows. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Day by day, Margaret faced challenges that battered her spirit. Friends conveyed their disbelief, and whispers of skepticism echoed through the village. Yet each evening she gathered her family and friends, undeterred. She proclaimed the sacred prayer, the promise of safety and protection swirling through the air. The more she prayed, the deeper the rifts between her and the community seemed to widen. On the 7th day, a crescendo of prayer filled the chapel, anticipation crackling like electricity. Margaret's heart pounded, desperation clawing for a resolution. Would this obedience yield imaginable grace, or dissolve into a hushed nothingness? As her voice rose, filled with fervor, a miraculous hush fell over the congregation. And there it was, a ripple of divine energy surged through the air, and as their prayers intertwined in awe, something extraordinary began to happen. A transformative healing shone forth in the heart of her family. Gasps of disbelief scattered through the chapel like leaves in the wind, and tears streamed down joyful faces. As Margaret basked in heavenly joy, she realized the depth of her conviction had united not just her family, but an entire village, together enveloped in the embrace of faith. And yet, the air hung heavy with an unanswered question. What other trials awaited them on their journey of faith, and could they trust in divine protection against the shadows that still lingered? The days following the 7th day blossomed into a tapestry of hope and renewed strength for Margaret and her family. The entire village felt as if they had emerged from a long, dark night into the warm embrace of a dawn filled with possibility. Children, once pale and withdrawn, raced through the streets, their laughter a melodic reminder of the vigor returned to their spirits. Margaret found solace in the rhythm of her daily life, now touched by the miraculous. Morning tea felt sweeter, and meals were filled with joyful chatter, a far cry from the silence that had once enveloped their home. Yet even amidst this newfound light, a gnawing uncertainty nestled within her heart. More than the physical healing, was there a deeper lesson unfolding? Each day felt like a delicate dance between gratitude and the shadows of fear lurking just beyond the light. One evening, as Margaret strolled through the village, she stumbled upon a gathering outside the tavern. Curiosity pulled her closer.
Villagers shared stories of hope and healing, their eyes sparkled with newfound faith. "It was Margaret's prayers that sparked it all," one voice exclaimed, sending ripples of appreciation through the crowd. Margaret felt a blush creep upon her cheeks, not for accolades, but for realizing that faith was indeed contagious. But just as joy filled the air, a figure stepped forward, a woman Margaret recognized yet had not spoken to in weeks. Eleanor, known for her sharp tongue and skeptical heart, approached with an intensity that momentarily silenced the crowd.
"Your prayers may have worked for you, Margaret," she said, her tone edged but wavering. "But what of my husband? He is still unwell." A hush embraced the gathering, eyes darting between the two women, the tension palpable. Here stood a woman fueled by pain, and yet bursting with a burning question. Could faith truly be a blanket that covered all in anguish? Margaret's heart sank. What could she say to ease Eleanor's turmoil, to weave hope into her wounded spirit? "Eleanor," Margaret started, her voice steady yet gentle, "we all walk through valleys. Sometimes the path is clearer, sometimes we're engulfed in shadows. But isn't it in those dark moments that we must cling to hope the tightest? Every prayer we utter is a step toward healing, whether we see it or not." Eleanor's frustration flickered. The crowd remained silent, their breath held as they awaited her reply. Margaret felt the weight of community resting on her shoulders, and in that moment she understood. Faith was less about immediate answers and more about unwavering trust in the journey. "Will you join me?" Margaret implored. "Let us pray for your husband together." Eleanor hesitated, but something shifted in her gaze. It was as if an unseen force tugged at her heartstrings, a glimmer of hope igniting in the depths of her despair. With each village member inducing their own quiet assent, the group, led by Margaret, took a step forward, joining hands under the fading sun. They cultivated a vibrant circle of faith, pulsating with unity and purpose, and as they lifted their voices together, invoking the sacred prayer once more, Margaret felt a surge of warmth envelop her, a promise of divine presence and protection. Yet, behind the joy of connection and shared faith, loomed the shadows of uncertainty. Would this be enough? What other trials awaited just beyond the horizon? As darkness settled in, the question lingered like a delicate whisper. Had they unleashed a force of divine potential, or merely invited more storms into their midst? As hope intermingled with doubt, a subtle breeze stirred, and in it whispered the reminder that God's plan was often hidden beyond the veil. The dawn of another trial awaited them. What would it reveal? As twilight draped the village in hues of gold and indigo, the air thickened with palpable tension, a sense of expectation hanging among the gathered souls. Margaret, standing hand in hand with Eleanor and the rest of the villagers, drew in a deep breath, welcoming the cool evening breeze as it gently whispered promises of renewal. "May the Lord's peace flow through us," she spoke, her voice wrapped in warmth. "Let us pray fervently for Eleanor's husband, for all who are in need. Let the divine light guide our hearts, uniting us." That evening, the prayers wove a tapestry of spirit, each word a thread binding every soul tighter, forming a collective trust. Margaret sensed a surge of energy, a current of faith rising like an unseen tide, drawing even the most reluctant hearts into alignment. Yet beneath this wave of unity, Eleanor's grip faltered. Her eyes glimmered with unshed tears, a mix of vulnerability and the heavy weight of her despair. Despite the growing faith around her, doubt curled around her thoughts. What if nothing changes? She wondered silently. Margaret noticed the flickering candle of uncertainty within Eleanor. Truly, every prayer offered is a seed, waiting for its time to sprout, she reassured her, squeezing Eleanor's hand gently. Have faith that the harvest may not be what we expect, yet it will be good. A few villagers, now less shy in their own stories of healing, stepped forth, recounting tales of grace during dark times. Each recounted moment seemed to kindle a brighter light in Eleanor's eyes. "My neighbor, Thomas, was healed after years of suffering," one man shared. Murmurs of assent rippled through the group, creating a warmth that reached into the shadows of doubt. As seconds rolled into minutes, Margaret felt the sacred atmosphere deepen. It was as if the heavens drew near, listening intently, ready to pour forth blessings. "Lord," she spoke softly, "may we be conduits of your love, unwavering light in the midst of turmoil." At that moment, a subtle rustling in the surrounding trees accompanied the prayer, a breeze sweeping through, as if nature itself was affirming their hope.
Eleanor's eyes widened, a flicker of surprise brightening her expression. "Did you feel that?" she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of awe and disbelief. "Yes," Margaret breathed, sensing an unseen force pressing gently against her heart. "It is a reminder of his presence. He walks with us, in our joys and in our struggles." Eleanor absorbed the words like balm upon an aching soul. Perhaps there was something more that awaited her. Perhaps the trials were not meant for darkness, but for deeper understanding. Yet as the prayers waned and the sun dipped beneath the horizon, the shadows extended behind them like veils, hiding the potential trials still to come. With every whisper of faith, questions lingered. What new challenges would rise in the days to follow? Would they be ready to face them? Margaret felt a wave of conflicting emotions, a mix of hope and apprehension. She understood that in this sacred journey, growth was often found within the storms as much as in the calm. As night descended, the gathering began to disperse, leaving behind murmurs of faith and flickering candlelight against the vast sky. Margaret turned toward Eleanor, her heart brimming with compassion. "Remember, we walk together. Whatever may come, we are connected by our shared prayers." Eleanor smiled softly, the first true light touching her features. "Thank you, Margaret. Perhaps this journey is just beginning."
As they walked home, the moonlit path stretched before them, yet even in the tranquility of night, unease lingered. What would tomorrow's dawn unveil? Would their united faith be enough to weather the storms yet unseen? Amidst the tranquility, Margaret pondered the nature of divine timing. When would they truly witness the manifestation of their prayers? How far was faith willing to stretch before it could glimpse its grand design? A new challenge was surely on the horizon, but what strength of spirit would carry them forth? The dawn broke gently over the village, weaving ribbons of light through the lingering shadows of night. Margaret awoke with a heart full of anticipation, yet the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily upon her. She had sent her prayers into the heavens, but where were the answers? As she prepared for the day, she found herself seeking comfort in the words of Scripture. "Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen," she murmured, etching a promise deep within her heart. Gratitude rose within her like morning dew. Still, a part of her longed for a tangible sign, a glimpse of the divine. Outside, the village hummed with its morning rhythms. Children laughed, chasing one another, while elders gathered at the market, exchanging news and produce. Margaret absorbed the scene, feeling the familiar pulse of community. Yet in that pulse, she sensed a shift, a tremor of expectancy, as if everyone awaited something remarkable to unfold. Eleanor came into view, her outline bright against the morning glow. Margaret's heart skipped at the sight of her friend. Thoughts of yesterday's prayers flooded back, reminding her of the fluttering hope that had begun to take root in Eleanor's heart. But as Eleanor drew closer, Margaret noticed something behind her radiant smile, a veil of concern. "Good morning, Margaret," Eleanor greeted, her voice steady but her eyes revealing more. "I was wondering, do you think acknowledging our fears could be a part of faith?" Margaret paused, feeling the depth of the question. "Yes, it can be. Admitting our fears doesn't mean we lack faith. It means we're human. Bring them to God. He holds them close." Eleanor nodded, though a shadow lingered behind her smile. "I pray my husband receives the help he needs, but the waiting feels unbearable. How do we trust when answers seem so far?" Margaret took Eleanor's hand, both a gesture of love and solidarity. "Sometimes the act of holding on is faith itself. Remember, our prayers are seeds burrowing deep underground, preparing to blossom. God's timing is not our own." The two women stood amongst the villagers, a collective energy spiraling around them like a warm embrace. There was a shared understanding, a comfort woven through whispered prayers and attentive hearts, yet aware of each other's struggles. As they moved toward the village square, a sudden hush fell across the bustling scene. All eyes turned to the tall oak tree in the center of the square. Twinkling among the branches was an extraordinary sight, tiny fragments of light, as if the heavens were showering them with blessings. Margaret's breath caught in her throat, disbelief and wonder mingling within her. "I've never seen anything like this," Eleanor whispered, eyes wide. "It's a sign, a reminder that we are never truly alone," Margaret replied, feeling the swell of hope rise within her. Just then, an elder stepped forward, speaking with a voice rich in wisdom. "Friends, we are on the brink of something great.
Hold fast to your hopes, for even in the waiting, God is moving. We must prepare our hearts and stand together." The words resonated, igniting a flicker of resolve in the gathered crowd. Spirits lifted as many joined hands, a shared purpose binding them together. Yet, deep inside, Margaret felt the current of uncertainty still swirling, shadows lurking on the edges of their unity. As the light danced above, she couldn't shake the feeling that more trials lay ahead, waiting just beyond the horizon. What would their collective faith draw forth in the days to come? Margaret knew one thing: the trials would test them. It was a promise wrapped in mystery, laying a foundation for growth. With a glance toward Eleanor, she felt the weight of their journey settle on her shoulders, an intertwined spirit entwined in their faith. And as the crowd began to disperse, the question lingered in Margaret's heart. What would they need to confront the trials before them? But perhaps even more profoundly was the question of whether their collective faith could shatter the barriers between hope and divine intervention. The air was thick with possibility, and the scent of renewal lingered as the villagers parted ways, each returning to their daily routines, yet hearts ablaze with hope. Margaret lingered by the oak tree, its branches shimmering in the sunlight, as if beckoning her closer. The flickering lights had all but vanished, yet their presence resonated in the atmosphere, igniting a yearning deep within her soul. Eleanor stood beside her, wrestling with her thoughts. "Do you feel it too? This pull towards something greater?" Her voice trembled with the weight of her questions, the glimmer of hope struggling to break free amidst her fears. Margaret nodded, a profound understanding bridging the gap between them. "It's as if our hearts recognize an answer is coming, even if we can't see it yet." She looked toward the villagers, who had formed small groups, their conversations hushed as they spoke of faith and their hopes. Suddenly, the elder who had spoken before returned, his eyes gleaming with the fervor of new conviction. "Beloved ones, do you not sense it? The air is alive with promise, and God's whispers are calling us to be the change we wish to see. We are not just passive spectators, but participants in His divine plan." His words echoed across the square, igniting a spark of rekindled determination. Eyes turned toward the elder, an invisible thread weaving them closer together. The collective energy surged, and Margaret felt the pulse of faith resonate like a drumbeat within her chest. "Let us gather tonight," he continued, "to pray, to share our burdens, and to uplift each other. In unity, we can shift the very fabric of our reality." The proposal hung in the air like a beacon, casting a glow upon the hearts captivated by the possibility of collective prayer. Eleanor squeezed Margaret's hand, her doubt momentarily dispelled. "I think this is what we need, an evening of shared faith." As twilight descended upon the village, a warm glow surrounded the gathering. Lanterns flickered to life, illuminating faces filled with reverence. The square transformed into a sacred space, a canvas for their hopes and prayers. The elder led them with a voice of authority, yet his tone was gentle, inviting every heart to join in the chorus of faith. "Let us begin with a prayer, leaning on the wisdom of those who came before us. In the spirit of Saint Benedict, we call upon divine protection. Let us pray for each other. Lift your voices, all God's children." Margaret's heart soared as a symphony of prayer enveloped the square. Words flowed freely, each utterance a testament to yearning souls seeking refuge. "Protect us, O Lord," echoed through the crowd, intertwining with the sacred intent. As they prayed, Margaret felt the heaviness of uncertainty lift, replaced by a burgeoning assurance. She could sense the collective spirit growing stronger, a palpable force that transcended individual doubts. But then came a moment of silence, a sacred pause as the air thickened with anticipation. In that stillness, the whisper of divine intervention shimmered, so close yet unfathomable. Each heart in the circle thudded louder, a reminder of shared faith, but a nagging question lingered. What encounters awaited them on this journey together? Just as the silence was about to settle too deeply, a soft rustling echoed through the branches of the oak. All eyes shifted, drawn to the canopy above, plates of anticipation hanging delicately in the air. "We may be closer than we think," Margaret whispered, her voice quivering with excitement and caution. The question remained,
Would they be ready to embrace what was coming, and could their hearts withstand the revelations that lay ahead? Tonight would be significant, and the unfolding of their faith story had just begun. As the whispers of prayer floated into the night, the villagers stood together, a tapestry of hope and faith woven tightly. The elder, still centered in their gathering like a calm lighthouse, lifted his hands. "Let us open our hearts," he said, his voice steady, "to receive the messages that the Lord has prepared for us." Margaret felt her heart bounding against her ribcage, resonating with the elder's every word.
She closed her eyes, allowing the surrounding ambience to embrace her. For the first time, she felt a flicker of clarity within the storm of uncertainty. It was more than just prayer. It was a promise of protection and guidance, the lives of each person in attendance intertwining beneath the sky as if they were branches connected to the same tree. The lanterns cast a sacred glow, and she could see faces illuminated with hope. Eleanor's expression shifted, now one of serene anticipation. "I never thought I would feel this way again, Margaret. It's like a fire has been ignited in my soul," she said, eyes bright, reflecting the flickering lights. "Yes," Margaret breathed, overwhelmed. "God is moving among us." The excitement thrummed through the gathering, an electric current fueled by conviction surged amongst them. "Brothers and sisters," the elder continued, "our community carries the weight of trials, yet within them lies the opportunity for divine deliverance. As we invoke the spirit of Saint Benedict, let us seek refuge under his prayer. Here, in this sacred moment, we are connected not just to each other, but to the divine will that governs our lives." The villagers clasped hands, a human chain of believers energized for the night ahead. The elder led them in the ancient prayer, each word lifted like incense to the heavens. Margaret felt the warmth spreading from person to person, hearts aligning in a powerful hymn of faith. In unison they recited, "Graciously hear our prayers, O Lord, for the glory of your name. Protect us from all evil. Deliver us from every danger." As the prayer flowed, an unexpected breeze rustled through the oak's branches. A feeling of serenity enveloped Margaret, filling her with peace as if angels hovered nearby, listening intently. Eyes remained closed, and spirits soared, each word breathed with earnestness and intention. But amidst the prayers, doubt flickered like shadows in Margaret's mind, whispering of the fears that often gripped her heart. What if this was just a fleeting moment of connection? Would tomorrow bring the silence back? Yet looking around, she saw only hope. She felt the hand of Eleanor tightening around hers, and like a gentle reminder, their hearts beat a collective rhythm, a testament to their resilience. In that instant, Margaret surrendered her doubts, trusting in the flow of faith. The prayer began to fade into a meditative silence, and within that sacred stillness, a loud crack echoed from the very heart of the oak tree. Eyes opened wide, surprise written across every face as a faint glow emerged from within the bark. The villagers gasped, their faith deepening in the presence of the divine. Something extraordinary was shaping up before them. "What is happening?" Eleanor murmured, her pulse quickening. The oak seemed alive, responding to their prayers like a divine companion. Margaret felt an unshakable pull toward the radiant glow. "Have you ever seen anything like this?"
she whispered back, her heart racing. The elder stepped forward, awe etched on his features, sensing the ancient energy swirling around them. What God reveals next may change everything. Their journey was poised for a pivotal revelation, and as the glow danced invitingly, they stood on the threshold of something miraculous, awaiting answers that would unveil their destiny. Would they be courageous enough to answer the call? As the glow pulsed rhythmically from the oak, a hush fell over the gathering. Each person stood captivated, hearts in sync, an undeniable bond strengthened by shared faith and wonder. The elder, drawn close to the tree's ancient bark, felt the weight of the moment settle upon him. He turned slightly, glancing back at Margaret and Eleanor, urging them forward with a gentle nod. "Come, we must approach it together," he called, his voice steady yet tinged with reverence. "This is a moment ordained by the Almighty. Let us seek the message within." Margaret and Eleanor exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them. They stepped forward, the air thick with a holy anticipation that crackled like electricity. As they drew nearer, the glow intensified, illuminating the intricacies of the bark, revealing swirling patterns that seemed to dance before their eyes. "What does it mean?" Eleanor wondered aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. There was something magnificent about the light. It felt alive, almost as if it were beckoning them, inviting them into a deeper understanding. The elder placed his hand on the tree's surface, his fingers tracing the luminous markings. In ancient times, these symbols represented guidance, protection, and the promises of God, he began, voice low and reverent. Saint Benedict wrote of these blessings, invoking a divine shield against darkness. Perhaps tonight we are meant to receive one such blessing. A collective breath stirred among the villagers, as hope mingled with curiosity. Margaret felt warmth flooding her heart. The doubt that had briefly shadowed her spirit dissipated like mist under a morning sun. What if this is our moment, she murmured, excitement bubbling within her. What if this is how we find our deliverance? The elder nodded, his eyes sparkling with a divine light. We are here to listen. Let us open our hearts fully to what God wishes to reveal. As if on cue, the glow pulsed brighter, and Margaret felt a soft breeze wrap around her, almost as if the oak were embracing her. It was a sensation both calming and electrifying. She closed her eyes again, allowing herself to feel the rhythm of her breath intertwining with her prayers. The villagers began to recite the words of Saint Benedict. Holy Father, protect us under the shelter of your wings. Each syllable flowed, echoing among the trees, mixing with the sap of the oak, infusing them with pure intention. May no harm come near us, the elder continued, his voice resonating with authority.
Let this be our strength, our shield against all that seeks to divide us. With every uttered prayer, the glow deepened, flickering in tandem with the cadence of the villagers' voices. Margaret opened her eyes again, her heart racing anew. She could see it clearer now, ripples of light filling the air, wrapping around them like a protective cloak. Suddenly, a tender voice broke through the gathering hum. A child, no more than 7, stepped forward, wide-eyed and innocent. "Will the oak help us too?" he asked, his innocence piercing through the heavy atmosphere. The elder knelt, meeting the child's gaze, and smiled warmly. "Yes, dear one, the oak stands tall for us all, a witness to our faith, a carrier of our prayers. It connects us to heaven." As the crowd absorbed these words, a shift occurred. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves overhead, creating a melody of hope that swirled through the air. Margaret felt a tremor in her spirit. This was more than just an unfolding event. It was a divine summons. Encouraged by the elder's presence, she stepped closer, feeling the energy surge through her, as if God himself were infusing them with promise. She sensed Eleanor following beside her, their hearts beating as one, a symphony of faith. In that sacred moment, with the oak burning bright and their spirits fueled by conviction, they felt the stirring of destiny. Would they embrace the blessings that awaited them, or that fear deter their trust in the divine? The light began to weave new patterns, something more profound than they'd ever imagined. What lay ahead was shrouded in mystery. The call was there, echoing through the night. But what revelations awaited them at the heart of the oak? What promise did God have in store? As the glow pulsed, a new wave of anticipation surged, defining not just the night, but their very lives. In the depths of Margaret's heart, a question lingered, filling her with awe. Were they ready to receive the wonders that lay ahead? As the energy of the oak swirled gently around them, Margaret could barely contain her breath. She felt as though the great tree was not just a relic of years gone by, but a living testament to countless prayers, much like her own. There was a sense of urgency in the air, a realization that tonight was not merely an ordinary gathering. Eleanor squeezed her hand, her eyes wide with wonder and curiosity. "What do we do next?" she whispered, her voice barely breaking the cocoon of sacred silence that enveloped them all. The elder, still kneeling beside the child, rose slowly. The gentle glow cast his face in soft shadows, highlighting the lines of wisdom earned through years of faithful guidance. "We must remain open," he instructed. "What we seek requires our hearts to be receptive. Let each of us ask privately what God wishes to reveal, and allow that understanding to flow freely." Margaret felt a profound weight in his words. Each call to God ignited a flicker of courage within her spirit. She closed her eyes again and let her palms rest open, pressing against the coolness of the oak. An image suddenly flew to her mind, a glowing path, one lined with vibrant flowers reaching for the heavens. This path invited her deeper into understanding, into a revelation that stirred her soul. "God, what do you ask of me?" she whispered. A profound stillness enveloped the gathering as they each sought guidance. Outside, the wind sang through the branches with a soothing melody, a hymn woven into the fabric of the night. "Margaret," Eleanor's voice broke through her reverie, the urgency palpable. I think I felt something."
Margaret opened her eyes, surprised by the flush of excitement on Eleanor's face. "What did you feel?" "I don't know how to explain it," Eleanor breathed, "but it's like a light, like joy and peace, and a whisper saying to trust, to believe." Her own hands were outstretched toward the oak, drawing unseen strength from its ancient presence. The elder nodded sagely. "That is the power of faith. It connects us, holding us together in harmony with the divine will." The child, still standing before them, gazed up into the elder's eyes. "What happens when we trust?" he asked, innocence shimmering in his gaze. "When we trust, dear child," the elder replied softly, "miracles can unfold. We become vessels of God's purpose. Perhaps we will witness unimaginable blessings." Margaret's heart raced as she felt the truth of his words sink in. The others around her began to murmur their prayers once more, filling the air with a chorus of unity and longing. Each voice, a thread of devotion, wove itself deeper into the embrace of the oak's protective glow. Suddenly, the oak's light pulsed with incredible vibrancy, thrumming like a heartbeat. It was as if the tree recognized their earnestness, responding to the weight of their faith. Margaret's heart raced as she felt the truth of his words sink in. The others around her began to murmur their prayers once more, filling the air with a chorus of unity and longing. Each voice, a thread of devotion, wove itself deeper into the embrace of the oak's protective glow. Suddenly, the oak's light pulsed with incredible vibrancy, thrumming like a heartbeat. It was as if the tree recognized their earnestness, responding to the weight of their faith. Margaret's heart raced as she felt the promise of something miraculous, something ready to bloom. She breathed deeply, mind racing with the possibilities swirling in her heart. As whispers of revelation poured forth, Margaret realized that this gathering was part of a much larger narrative, one that could redefine their lives. But what could become of them in this holy space? What transformation awaited, capturing their hearts and spirits? In that moment of divine convergence, she knew their journey was just beginning. The oak had opened a doorway, one that beckoned with the allure of an errant hope. "Together we will stand firm," she declared, her voice steady and strong, igniting fervor within each villager present. With fire in their spirits, determination in their hearts, and the call of the oak resonating through them, the villagers could not shake the feeling that profound change was near. As Margaret grasped Eleanor's hand tightly, their eyes drawn back to the incandescence of the oak, one compelling question lingered in the air. What awaited them at the threshold of their faith?
And as the night continued to unfold, it held secrets deeper than any had dared to grasp. The unfolding of their journey was scarcely begun, yet promises churned beneath the surface of their hearts. How would the divine reveal itself next? The air crackled with anticipation as the villagers stood before the oak, hearts intertwined in sacred unity. Margaret's mind danced with the possibilities of what God might reveal. Each face nearby wore expressions of longing, faith swirling in their gazes like the gentle rustle of the leaves overhead. Eleanor squeezed Margaret's hand tighter, drawing her attention. "Do you feel it too? The energy. It's like we're part of something bigger," she said cautiously, her eyes never leaving the tree's luminescent canopy. Margaret nodded, barely holding back her own excitement. "It's as if the oak is alive, responding to us, encouraging us to lean deeper into our faith." It felt as if the very air around them was charged with purpose. The elder raised his hands, palms upward, bathed in a warm glow. "Let us not rush," he said with serene authority. "God's plans unfold like the petals of a flower, gently, with time. Each of us must be vigilant in listening, for his voice comes in whispers." In that moment, the world around them dimmed. Even the wind seemed to hush in reverence. Margaret closed her eyes again, steadying her breath. "Lord, grant me the strength to see what you want me to see," she murmured, seeking the divine invitation. Just then, the child, previously quiet, suddenly clutched at his chest, his wide eyes reflecting a wonder that Margaret's heart swelled. "I feel something. It's warm and loving, like a hug from the sun." The elder smiled gently. "You have caught the essence of God's love, dear one. It is ever present, always available to those who are open to receive." This simple declaration reverberated in Margaret's spirit. A wave of warmth washed over her, igniting a flicker of hope. She glanced around. Others were smiling,
their expressions transforming as if a subtle truth had pierced through their worries. "Listen," Eleanor suddenly exclaimed. "The oak is whispering." All present turned their eyes to the giant tree, the rustling of its leaves oddly resembling a melodic chant, inviting them into a deeper communion. Margaret's heart raced. Could this really be a spiritual connection? Were they being called to something beyond themselves? With the elder still guiding them, the villagers held hands tightly, forming a circle under the oak. The flickering light intensified, casting golden shadows that danced among them. "Let us join together in prayer, interceding for clarity and purpose," the elder declared. A chorus of voices arose, intertwining in a sacred tapestry. They prayed for peace in their town, for healing among loved ones, and most importantly, for their own hearts to be unlocked to receive God's truth. Margaret felt every word resonate deep within her.
As they prayed, a palpable change began to unfold. Margaret could scarcely believe her senses as a radiant light pulsated from the oak, shimmering as if it were sending forth blessings. Her heart soared as she envisioned the luminous glow extending beyond their gathering, touching every home and soul in their community. "Together we will create a wave of renewal," she exclaimed, pride and empowerment surging through her. "With God's grace, we will not just receive, but also be conduits of His healing and transformation." Amid the fervent energy, a rustle emerged from inside the oak's stout trunk, causing a collective gasp among the villagers. The elder's eyes grew wide with wonder, his expression shifting to one of reverence. A soft light began to emerge, coalescing into a shape, a shimmering mist that took form. Something truly miraculous was underway, sending ripples of faith through their gathering. "What is happening?" Eleanor whispered, her excitement palpable. The elder raised his voice. "Stay rooted in faith. God is unveiling a revelation. Keep your hearts open." The air thickened with anticipation, curiosity swirling around them. Who would they become as they continued to embrace this divine mystery? Their journey was nowhere near its end. All that lay ahead felt electric, tinged with the promise of something glorious. As they stood captivated, one shared thought echoed in Margaret's mind. What forms of divine assurance awaited them beyond this moment? The air shimmered with an intensity that Margaret's heart pounded. The villagers, bound in a circle of faith, gazed in awe as the shimmering mist swirled and shifted. Was it an angel? A guide? Within that sacred moment, everything felt possible. Their prayers resonated as one, creating a tidal wave of hope washing over each soul present. The luminous shape began to take form, filling the space with both light and warmth. Margaret could feel something deep stirring within her, a desire to fully embrace this divine connection. She reached for Eleanor's hand, their grip tightening as they both leaned in closer, fully present in their shared anticipation. The elder lifted his arms, still exuberant with reverence. "Beloved ones, what we now witness is a blessing born of our hearts united in prayer. Let us not fear what God wishes to reveal." His voice rolled like thunder, vibrating with faith. As the mist parted, a serene figure emerged, a radiant being cloaked in light, illuminating the gathering with a resplendent glow. A hush fell across the villagers, every heart pounding in rhythm with burgeoning awe. Margaret felt tears of wonder welling in her eyes, the sight of this manifestation laden with divine significance. "Fear not, beloved children," came the voice of the figure, soft yet powerful, echoing like music carried on the wind. Margaret felt an inexplicable warmth spread through her being.
This was no ordinary moment. This was a divine appointment, a confirmation of faith that could not be ignored. She turned to Eleanor, whose expression reflected pure astonishment. It was as if questions long buried were finally finding clarity. "Together you will be bearers of light," the figure continued, "and through your unity, healing shall flow. Trust in your path, trust in what is to come." With every word spoken, Margaret's heart fluttered with possibility. She could see the villagers leaning into the vision, eyes bright with hope. Would this divine being show them the way to protect their loved ones, to heal their village, even to confront the unseen trials that loomed? "What must we do?" Margaret found her voice, strong and unwavering. The figure smiled, a warm glow radiating from within. "You are already doing it. Prayer has woven you together. Continue to uphold one another, especially when shadows threaten your unity. Seek each other in love, foster unwavering trust in God's timing, and your bond will illuminate the darkness."
The atmosphere throbbed with energy. The villagers shared glances, unspoken promises flaring in their eyes. They were no longer merely a collective seeking help. They were a force of divine hope, ready to face whatever lay ahead. "Know this," the figure said. "Your journey will not be without trials, but your faith shall be your armor. Resilient hearts draw strength in community." And as the last words danced on the air, the light began to draw back into the oak, twinkling like stars retreating at dawn. The figure slowly faded, but the warmth remained, enveloping the villagers in what felt like a divine embrace. A chorus of whispers filled the night air, gratitude, astonishment, and renewed resolve echoing through the square. Eleanor turned to Margaret, her eyes gleaming. "We must carry this light with us. We can do this together." "Yes," Margaret exclaimed, fueled by the certainty birthed within her spirit. "We are stronger together, and if God is with us, nothing can stand in our way." As they broke the circle and began to disperse, faith pulsed in their steps, each person embracing hope, renewed purpose glowing brighter than ever. They would become vessels of love and unity, protectors of one another through every trial that awaited. The village awoke with a new dawn, and within the heart of that stillness lay an unshakable promise. The journey of faith was ever unfolding. Margaret felt the weight of divine revelation settle into her heart. They would rise as one, propelled forward by unwavering love, each step carrying the resonant echoes of prayers answered. The shadows of doubt could no longer quench their spirits. A voice spoke softly within her. "You are held. You are loved." In that serenity, she understood. They were ready to embrace whatever came next. Now, brothers and sisters, as you reflect on this journey, remember the power of communal faith that we hold.
Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this message of hope. Your support makes a difference. Comment your reactions and testimonies about how faith has transformed your life. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of divine promise. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this light with those who seek it.